local history, local culture, local events, your community. This is the Joe Kelly Show.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Michael Parker is our guest. Mike is a journalist, but he's also in his spare time doing metal detecting, and he's out with a new book. And the book is The Art of Metal Detecting. We're going to talk about Mike's book. We're going to talk about some of the things that he's found over the years and how to get started if you've always been wanting to get into that hobby, as I have. But before we get into any of that, we're going to say welcome. Good to see you again.
Oh, how do you do? Always fun. Nice to meet you all the time.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mike. Why the book? Why? I know you've been metal detecting since 1972?
Yes. There's a lot of reasons why I started. One reason, a lot of times you knock on someone's door to go metal detecting, and they have one in the closet. And so I figured that maybe to reach out to these people and give them an opportunity to metal detect and to know how to do it. So what they have, they can turn into actually field experience from the book. And I started in '72 because of I had a metal detector then, and I used to go around and detect some there. And that was the year of the age of the bottle cap, when bottle cap was king. You know, you'd find them everywhere. So it was a little discouraging. So I did it some until the '90s, and then I started doing it a lot.
And the metal detecting hobby is one, is it not, Mike, that you can get into fairly inexpensively?
Yeah, you can spend like $150 on a metal detector, up to a couple thousand anyway. And those are a lot of times a kit that you get with all the other things you need with it. But there's some really, it's not so much what you use, but where you look. And that's what my book is about, not trying to promote any one machine over another. Just that if you have a metal detector, you look in the right places, you can find things.
Before we get into that, what would your advice be for someone such as yours truly who wants to start? They don't want to go into it full time, but they would not mind going to some historic spots. What would the advice be?
Well, a machine you spend around maybe $300 or $400. It's either a simplex or a Garrett. Those are good starter machines. Some of them are. They do have upper level machines too. But starting with something like that to see if you like it, you know, because you're going to find a lot of nails. You're going to find bottle caps, and you're going to find anything that you can imagine. But where you're looking helps. You know, along a riverbed or whatever.
So. Those two moderately priced, $300-400, and that's really about all you need, I guess, right? Equipment-wise.
Well, you need a shovel. A pinpointer's handy. That's something we didn't have when I first started.
Tell people what a pinpointer is.
A pinpointer is looks like a carrot kind of. Only you point it around. You dig your hole and then you point it in there, and it identifies exactly where the item is. Then you can dig in that direction.
Is a pinpointer like? I'm trying to make an analogy here. You've got your metal detector, which would scan large areas, and then when you get it down, that gets you into pinpointing.
Yeah, because a lot of times you can't see what it is until you touch that to it, and the beep. It goes from a beep beep beep, and then it goes on to a real clear tone once you touch it. So you got it in front of you. And a lot of times you can't even see what it is because it's covered in dirt and stuff. So that's why the pinpointer is good.
Would joining a club be a first step as well?
I think it's the perfect step, because if you're looking to buy a machine, what you do is you meet the people in the club, see what they like, and see what they've got. If you get something they've got, they can teach you how to use it. And that's a big plus about a club. Now,
you're president, are you not?
Yes.
Of a local club. What's the name of that club?
Earth Metal Detecting Club of Central New York.
And open for new members?
Always open. Anybody can come and see what it's like. We meet at Dunham Library the last Monday of the month
in
at
Whitesboro.
6:30. Yep, in Whitesboro. Yep. And we have everybody brings in what their last month's finds were, and we put out a display and all the different cases and stuff that are laid out, and you can see what you can expect to find. Then we have a contest too, each year. 4 different contests. One's best coin, best jewelry, best other, which is anything you find while metal detecting. I just found a hand-blown glass egg that was sitting on top of a field that it had been washed off by the rain, and it was made in the late 1800s. It was used to darn socks with, and there used to be covered with all sorts of, like maybe a proverb or artwork or whatever. This one was all worn off because it was used so much.
In fact, you brought some things that the next segment we're going to show, some of the things that you found over the years. Is there dues, fees for your club?
Yeah, we charge $30 a year per person, $35 for a family. And the family comes in handy because we have a picnic every year and a Christmas party, so everybody can come and bring their family, and the picnic's no charge for people unless they want to do metal detecting. So that's nice, and everybody brings food and things to raffle off.
Yeah, the book is based on some of the things that you wrote for the club.
Yeah, well, I've always been in charge of we've all taken turns at being the editor of the newsletter, and I would always be stuck for putting things into the paper, so I'd make up stories and stuff, or I'd tell people stories about the adventures you go on, you know. Like a couple years ago, I was face to face with a black bull, and I was using my metal detector to hold off the bull, which I think really made him upset.
Yeah.
And I probably, if I reached out and petted him, he'd be okay with it. But you hear the term bull, and you like to run.
Yeah. This is the cover of the book, and it is sale for how much, Mike?
$19.99 for the paperback, $29.99 for the hardcover, and for the Kindle ebook is $5.99.
Okay, and this is by Amazon, correct?
Yes.
And they can get it through Amazon. Can you get it anywhere else?
Well, right now I've got it the Ag Weight Hound patent, or I just have copies. I'm still developing the web page. I'm trying to get a YouTube page where I can explain things more, like all the different things that are. Metal detecting can be very complicated. You can find a lot of stuff, but you got to know what to look for, where to look, and what to expect.
Can they buy it at your office?
Yes.
And your office is in Mapledale, the Rural Star newspaper office, which I should say is a bi-weekly and covers that area of the county. So,
Yes, I've been doing it 20 years.
have you really?
Before that, I started a newspaper. It was for 18 years. It went to all the high schools.
I remember that.
And then I was the editor at the Boonville Herald for 3 years. And
That I don't remember. That was way before me.
yeah, well, 92 is when I finished there.
Yeah.
Before that, I worked with the Adirondack Echo in Old Forge for 3 years. Before that, I was working at Stephan Publishing.
Yeah, I do remember that. Okay, Mike Parker's our guest. We're talking about his new book, The Art of Metal Detecting. We're going to come back and show you some of the things Mike has found over the years. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Mike Parker's our guest. Mike is a journalist. He is also author of a new book, The Art of Metal Detecting, and it's a nice little primer for somebody who wants to get into metal detecting, and also of interest to people that are experienced in it, because Mike talks about places that he has gone, things as he has found. The art of metal detecting and not the science of metal detecting. Why the art and not the science?
Well, I'm not really much on science, and so for that would imply that I'm going to tell you how the metal detector works. You know, it's like radar. It sends out a beep and comes back, and I know that that's about all I know. about that. But the art of metal detecting, it's where you start looking you can look at an area and see where a house might have been at one time. You know what to look for as far as the like tiger lilies or something that came from the 1700s from England, or from the English, along with like myrtle and daffodils, different things like that, different clues. You can tell by the lay of the land sometimes. Anyway, I put all the clues in there, how to find the older spots and new spots too. I've got a list of over 80 places where you can go metal detecting, like drive-in theaters, beaches, clam, where they used to have clam bakes and all that. They used to be big in the 40s. And that's the idea. And you can tell by how to spot an old road that's long gone, how to read maps.
Now you got to be careful that you're not on private property, yes?
Yes, you do. In fact, it's worse than that, because I got permission one time and I went metal detecting there, and it turned out I got permission from the groundskeeper, not from the owner. And the groundskeeper denied anything to do with it, so I got arrested for trespassing. And so, which they gave me community service, and the town supervisor had me metal detect around Trenton Falls Hotel as part of my sentence. So everybody in the metal detecting club wanted to get arrested. But yeah, it's a big deal. You can't just go on people's property. I'm using a program called Onyx Hunt. It's a hunter's program, and it'll tell you exactly where you've been or whose property it is, and then you can turn on the tracking, and when you go over a field, you can see if you missed spots, and it keeps track of that, and that's a lot of fun. So.
What do you do? Just go up to somebody's door, knock, say?
I do.
Yeah.
And I talked about how the best way to do that in the book. Because you don't want to go up on someone's, knock on their door and say, "Hi, I'm Mike Parker, and I want to dig holes in your yard." You know, you got to say, "I'd like to sweep your yard with my metal detector." It's like how you use your words. Like if you want to go to a park, you know, and you want to ask the policeman, it's okay. You don't ask him if he gives you your permission, you ask him if he knows any laws against metal detecting. And if he says no, then you can go there, and I just make a note of his name. But it's there's an art to asking, you see.
Yeah, you know, one of the places that I thought would be great to metal detect, but they've got signs up saying that it's not permitted, and that is the Oriskany battlefield.
We've gone metal detecting there.
Have you?
They wouldn't let us bring our shovels out. We had to put in, we wrote down the numbers see, every metal detector will tell you about what kind of, how ferrous of the metal or non-ferrous, and in like a quarter reads a high number, and other items that are copper, silver, gold, I would think. I don't find enough gold to really learn that one. But then we'd write that down where the best spots were, and then they plugged it into their computer. And if anybody was going to come from a college to do a dig on the Oriskany battlefield, they would go to the place that had the most activity.
So they let you bring a detector onto the battlefield, but not dig anything up.
You can't bring our shovels.
Okay, yeah.
That was kind of torture, but
yeah,
I've been around that in places that are private, you know, and I didn't find anything around it. Knowing what I do now, I would have gone to the side of the hills. This was the farm on the UTICA side of the battlefield. And
talk about some of the places you have been and have been successful in finding things.
Well, let's see. A lot of farmers' field. There was Terry Jones is where I found my cannonball. His farm goes along the 9 Mile. He told me the Continental Army had camped there. This is one of my longest stories in there, so I won't get too far into the weeds with it. But the Continental Army camped there, which means we were looking for the Indian village in Howland Pad. Every time they do any building, they looked for the Indian village. And so when he said that the Continental Army camped on his property, I figured it was the Indian village. So one thing led to another, and I went down looking for it. And on Memorial Day 2001, I found the 90-pound cannonball that was bigger than a basketball.
And any other things from that site?
No, I found a musket ball buried in a tree that had fallen over. But there's another good spot I found on Route 12, and I think it was Bill Jones was his property. and I found a lot of military stuff on his property. The oldest coin was a 1776 Spanish real. Spanish reals are like the cat's meow that find around here. They're a Spanish coin. If it was a silver dollar size, it'd be pieces of 8. And some of them are 2 reals. I found a couple of them. And so those are fun to find. And you find them all the time around here, you know. I found like 7 or 8 of them. And you got to figure all dated from the 1700s mostly, some into the 1800s, but they are pieces of 8 were pirate treasure. You know, so there's like a neat thing about them too.
I would imagine you found a lot of buttons.
One place I found over 90 buttons. And
where was that place?
that was up north of the town of Trenton. See, you do so much research, you hate to give away your sites to anybody. Because that one I can go back to some more times and I might be able to find some more stuff. I've never found a gold coin, but if I found a gold coin there, it would be really a neat gold coin, you know. But only our club's been around for 35 years, and out of all that time and all the members, we usually have about 50 members, and half of them are active, but only like 4 or 5 gold coins have been found from all those years from people.
And the besides buttons being a very common thing, how about things like arrowheads? Are they?
I've never found an arrowhead. A lot of people have. Those are mostly, you have to find them by eye. There was some made out of brass, but I've never found them or seen one. But I know that they were around. What
would be another common find? So we've got coins, we've got buttons. What else would be a common find in this area?
Well, large cents they used to, quarter or penny or cents used to be about the size of a quarter, a little bit bigger. And they're a fun find. I found over 100 of them. Some people have never found them. A lot of Americans don't even know they ever existed, but they're a great find. Also, let's see, tokens are really neat to find. There's a little section on it in there. I found like one token for 5 cents for the Northwestern halfway house. And so there's such a piece of history. And everything you find has got history to it. And that's what's fun about it. If you're into history, which I am, I read all the books, and that's where you get your clues from. That's what I talk about too, is how to find the right books to read and how to know a clue when you see it, and going through maps and whatnot. And now you can find an old map and look at it and they show where the houses were. So you go to Google Maps and you go to find a field that doesn't have any houses in it now, and you know that foundation site is there somewhere. And so that, you know.
Technologies can be a wonderful thing.
It can be, yeah.
Mike Parker's our guest. We're talking about his new book, The Art of Metal Detecting. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Mike Parker's our guest. Mike is a metal detector. He's a journalist full-time, but in his part-time endeavors, he searches for things using a metal detector. He's out with his book, The Art of Metal Detecting. It's available on Amazon for $19.99 and soft cover, and hardcover
$29.99.
And also available as an ebook.
Yes.
And how much is that?
$5.99.
All right. And it's just out, and it can also be purchased from Mike personally. He's up at Mapledale. That's where the office is of the Rural Star newspaper is, bi-weekly. Some of the chapters that you've got in the book, Mike, business cards. How would business cards fit into metal detecting?
Well, because so many people lose things and they want to find it, or you give them a card, you get talking about metal detecting. That's what I always carry something with me I found so I can show, you know. And then they'll tell me they know a place, so I'll give them my business card. Or if they've lost something, I give it to them. And it's always the number of places you can go hunting that makes you successful at the hobby.
And it gives you a little credibility too, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Also, you can also turn it into a business where you write things off that you buy for it, like the metal detectors, and I do a lot of public speaking at libraries and stuff, usually to a packed room, you know. I don't know if it's me or just the hobby that attracts attention, you know.
Yeah, probably the hobby.
Yeah, probably. I would assume so. When you talk about finding silver and gold, it always catches someone's eye.
I'm teasing you. What is the some of the areas around here that you advise people to stop and look at?
For hunting?
Yeah.
Well, one thing good about hunting beaches, we call it the renewable resource, because people always go to beaches, they always lose things. And it's a nice way if you have, like if you're getting older and you have a hard time bending your knees or whatever, you could just use a sand scoop and scoop it up. And so you could just walk through and enjoy the beach and wade through the water. And
Do you ever go up to Sylvan Beach?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Did you find anything up there?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
My friends that were with me all did.
Okay. What'd they find?
One found the gold ring, and they find like silver rings. And you find like quarters and whatnot, and cell phones. You find a lot of cell phones.
How about up north on the beaches that we have in northern Oneida County and Herkimer County?
Well, if like at Lake Delta, you got to get a permit to detect if you're gonna, and that's lasts the first right after Labor Day to a week before Memorial Day. And one of the things we like to do is when we find rings, we like to return them. I've returned probably about a half dozen so far.
Really? How do you go about doing that?
Well, if they're class rings, you can do it. You can, because their names are on it at the school.
Okay.
I found one from a World War II veteran. He graduated after he left the service because he left school early, so it was a 1947 class ring, but I was able to return that to him. And
You had to do a little research for that, didn't you?
yeah, research is the name of the game. The things you find is
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah.
I found a French general's field uniform button, but I didn't. Now the way you got Google Lens, you got all these ways to find out what you found is. I didn't know that's what it was for. I probably found it 20 years ago, and the Thompson Road was first traveled in 1690 by the French and Indian.
Where's that road?
It's goes right through middle of Holland, Fox Road, Thompson Road, goes up to the French Road. All that was from 1690. So the idea of a French officer being here might have been from that, but I don't know, you know, because I never wrote it down. That's why keeping a journal is good, and that idea.
I'm just curious, Mike, the ring that you found from that gentleman who went into World War II, what school district was that?
Holland Patton.
Okay. And when you tracked him down, what was his reaction?
Oh, he was ecstatic. He thought he'd lost it, you know? And it happened so much. It was a dance people do when you return their rings. First it starts by going up and down, then they start twirling. It's really quite exciting.
Yeah.
And if you can make somebody so happy by returning them.
Yeah.
The most unusual thing I returned was a cat, but that's in the book. I'll let you read that one.
Okay.
It's a long story.
All right. The permit that you were speaking about at Lake Delta, are there other state facilities where you can get permits?
Well, this one permit is good for, I think it's got 10 or 11 different state parks that you can go to. And then there are other permits. It depends where you go. You have to check, you know. And most of the time you'll know. There's a lot of parks you can go around though. The most important thing is you always fill your holes. You don't want to be leaving messes wherever you go because you're going to ruin it for the hobby. And that's where people might come up and put in a sign, no metal detecting. You're a writer, is there another book in your future? Yes, actually I wrote the second book first, because the problem was my first book was going to be all fiction. And I was going to put a little information on how to metal detect in the back. Well, then it would be a problem. Where did the librarian put it? Fiction or fact or fiction, you know? So what I did is I moved this to the head. I put a couple stories I wrote from just my imagination in the back, how people lose things and how treasures happen. And so I'm looking forward to that book, but first things first.
All right. And any timeline on that?
Oh, I would say at least 6 months, because right now I'm building web pages for this one, and so I can do a YouTube page.
That reminds me, you've got a Facebook page, yes?
Yes, I do. I've got one under Michael Parker, and I'm building the next one, The Art of Metal Detecting, should be out in time for this to be aired. But that one I'm putting all the finds on and the stories behind it. Like on the real, the Spanish real, on the back of it, there's 2 pillars. Those are the pillars of Hercules, and that led to the birth of the dollar sign. So everything you find has a story behind it.
The love of history. If you've got a love of history, here's a good hobby for you, yes?
Oh yes, without a doubt, because you have to read all the history books you can for an area to find more of the clues and answers to your questions.
And the book is available on Amazon. It's available at Mike's Business, the Rural Star newspaper in Mapledale, and
The Highland Patent Agway.
the Highland Patent Agway.
And I'm working on some book signings too, which I'll be announcing on my webpage.
Okay. When you say webpage, you mean
Facebook? Yeah.
Okay. And I would just make one minor correction for you, and that is you said that the first step for people would be to join a club. I'd say the first step for people that want to get interested in or get into metal detecting is to get your book.
Very good.
A lot of good
that
stuff
is true.
there.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the book.
Appreciate it.
Give us a call when the other book comes out.
I will. All
right. Mike Parker's been our guest. Mike is involved with metal detecting, has been since 1972. He's president of the local metal detecting club. And that's going to do it for us this week, Mike. We'll see you again
Well, thank you
soon.
very much.
Until next time, everybody, take care of yourself.